Well, let me first thank Gautam and Maribel and Holly and other sponsors of tonight's event for putting on this forum. I want to thank all of you for coming, for your interest in this race, and one to recognize the love of my life, my wife, Betty. And you know, life is sometimes unfair because the hardest thing in my life was spending years and years trying to get her to marry me. She had me at hello. But I'm running for Attorney General because I want to make sure that our children and your children and future generations inherit a world that is better than one in which we live in now. One where Wall Street no longer preys on consumers, where polluters don't poison our air and water, where our economy thrives because people have access to good jobs, and where crime, especially violent crime, is reduced. The Attorney General's office can play a huge role in each of those areas. That's why I'm running. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my story, about how I came here and some of the views that I have and why I'm going to be California's next Attorney General. So I came here, my parents immigrated from Taiwan, and we came with basically nothing, lived in the basement of a person's house, and we would go to flea markets and swap meets and sell gifts to basically make ends meet and to survive. My job as a little kid was to make sure no one stole anything, and we did that for a few years. Then scraped enough money, opened one store in a shopping center strip plaza. My brother and I would go watch the store after school because we were free labor. So we did that for a few more years. Then opened up a store in a shopping mall. Eventually expanded to 6. And so my parents achieved the American dream. They went from poverty to a home, gave my brother and I an amazing education. I went to Stanford and Georgetown, and my brother went to Columbia and Berkeley. And there's very few countries in the world that give this sort of opportunity to people who want to work hard and succeed. It's one reason I joined the U.S. Air Force on active duty. I feel like I can never quite give back to America what it's given to my family. One reason I still stay in the reserves, and I'm a military prosecutor, and I do my reserve duty at Los Angeles Air Force Base. And it's one reason I'm running for Attorney General, and the reason I'm in politics is to make sure these opportunities remain free for people, regardless of race or gender or socioeconomic status. And the AG's office is one of the most amazing positions to advance democratic values. We enforce the civil rights laws, hate crimes laws, anti-discrimination laws. If you look at some of the most amazing advancements in American society, it happened not because of what the legislature did, it happened because of lawsuits. We were desegregated because people had the courage to bring lawsuits to the Supreme Court, Brown versus Board of Education. Some of the current day examples, for instance, Countrywide Home Loans has a really good, let me take it back, they have a pretty good loan modification program designed to help keep people from going to foreclosures. The reason they have that is not because they want to. The reason they have that is because Jerry Brown sued them as Attorney General. If you remember about 5 years ago, any of you could get a home loan under one condition. If you breathe oxygen, you get a home loan. And they violated all sorts of laws. And so they settled with the AG, and the settlement was you run a comprehensive loan modification program to help your customers from going to foreclosure. So Jerry Brown has essentially been able to do more for foreclosure prevention than the entire federal government has, until my bill that just got signed and went into law. So I'll talk about that later. In terms of expired products, for instance, CVS and Rite Aid were selling expired products that were 8 months expired, 6 months expired. And the problem is, if you buy baby Tylenol for your kid and you're trying to reduce your kid's fever, and that product doesn't work because it expired, it's a health issue. Because if your kid's fever keeps spiking, you could get the kid could go into a coma, you might have to take the kid to an emergency room. And so these are health and safety issues. They no longer do that, not because they want to, because they were making profits off this by not rotating their shelf products. They're doing it because, again, the AG sued them. And so in terms of the consumer protection, protecting seniors, it's an amazing office. Second part of what the AG does is there's a whole law and order component. And I have seen firsthand what happens when you have a breakdown in public safety. Our first store that we had in a shopping mall went really well for about 5 years. And then crime started to rise. Gang incidents happened at the mall, and the press reported on it. People stopped coming because they got scared. And we actually had to leave the store, and the mall went bankrupt a few years later. And so I've always believed public safety is government's first priority, because if you don't have public safety, forget about anything else. Nothing else is going to follow. Attorney General has a huge role in that. And the AG's office basically has 3 specific directives. One is to support law enforcement. Second is to protect consumers and the environment. And third, it is to provide legal representation, essentially to the state and state constitutional officers. So it is an enormously important position. I'm honored all of you are here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that Gautam has. I think he has a bunch. But let me sort of conclude with 2 things. After I served active duty in the Air Force, I served in private practice in a law firm. And then I went to UBS Payne Weber, in-house counsel's office. So I saw every way to lose money in the stock market. I can tell you how to do that quickly. I served on Torrance City Council, and now I'm in my final term in the State Assembly. I love my job, but I hate being away from my family. And the day that I feel like I'm not doing anything significant, I'm just going to go back and play with my kids and be with my family. So if you look at my record over the years, I've repeatedly taken on powerful interests regardless of the political consequences. I just got lucky that I took on Wall Street banks before it became popular to do so. I mean, you used to remember, Bank of America was beyond reproach. Wells Fargo had a pretty good reputation. And when I was chair of banking, I saw this foreclosure data roll in. It became apparent to me that a lot of them were engaging in practices that were indefensible. So I turned on them. I did hearings that embarrassed them. I ran legislation that got passed. I was removed as banking chair eventually. I don't even sit on the committee anymore. But I keep introducing legislation that gets passed that's pro-consumer, anti-bank. And I just happen to be lucky because banks are actually one of the few institutions now that actually have no money. So as a result, I keep on doing this. But at the time I did it, it was politically very risky. I was a chair of that committee, and I went against the industry that I was chair of. And I would do it again because what Wall Street did was inexcusable. It caused this crisis. And you know, there's 2 words I've yet to hear from Wall Street, and I've been at this for many years. Actually, it's 3 words now I think about it. So the first word is sorry. When are these banks going to say sorry for what they did? They caused the collapse of the American economy. I've not yet heard that word. And second, when am I going to hear the word thank you? Thank you to the taxpayers for giving you billions and billions of dollars. When is Goldman Sachs going to thank us for bailing them out so that they now can give $22 billion of bonuses to their executives? It is deeply offensive. And I'm going to do everything I can to try to rein that in. As Attorney General, I would keep on taking powerful interests on, and that's what I enjoy doing. So thanks again for being here. I'm happy to debate Gautam.